Woo! We needed that one, didn't we? We definitely needed that one. Baker Mayfield played after having probably one of his worst quarters in his NFL career, and following that up with what was, up to that point, the worst 7 quarters of his NFL career, if you count the 2 in Indy, the 4 in Pittsburgh, and then the 1 at the beginning of this game, might have just put together the best 3 quarters of football I have seen a Cleveland quarterback ever put in my lifetime together. So let's talk about Baker Mayfield's game, what this game means to the Browns, and what does 5-2 for the Cleveland Browns mean for the rest of the season? Well, let's talk about it. Real quick, if you're new here, don't forget to hit that like button, hit the subscribe button, and ding that notification bell so you can be notified when I upload. I upload a ton here during the football season and also not during the football season. So if you want to make sure you're locked in, please hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell. Also, if you want to help the channel out, there is a PayPal donation link in the description down below. That will be greatly appreciated. And then our Patreon dog checks. You can get a dog check if you join the dog check tier in Patreon. And the dog checks for this week goes to Greg Ehlers, Jesus Serrano, Seth Harrison, and Max Al Dojo. Shout out to y'all. Thank you guys for supporting. And shout out to everybody who's been supporting on that Patreon. It's been an absolute giant help with all the issues I've been going through with YouTube. So again, I really, really do appreciate you guys just going the extra mile and helping me out. And again, if anybody else is interested, Patreon and PayPal links are down in the description. So Baker Mayfield, man, that's the headline story. That's the lead, right? Because if Baker would have continued like that first quarter and the Browns lost this game, that would be the lead. But Baker, he turned it around in a way that I did not necessarily see coming. And I was on this channel all week telling you guys to not think about Case Keenum. Case Keenum ain't going to save you. And this is why I say the Browns' best option for this year is to have a healthy Baker Mayfield, because this is what a healthy Baker Mayfield can do. Granted, he's still injured, but he looked a lot more healthy than he did in Pittsburgh. He was a game changer. Like, you don't win this game this week if you don't have Baker Mayfield. Case Keenum does not provide the same options, the same arm talent that Baker Mayfield does. So this is a key reason why the Browns, in order for the Browns to be at the best they can possibly be, Baker Mayfield needs to be as healthy as possible and needs to be able to develop as healthily as possible, because these are the results. This is the kind of stuff that you see out of a Baker Mayfield that you won't see out of a Case Keenum. And this is the potential that we talked about. I think it's been so long since he has consistently flashed that potential that we have forgotten how good he was his rookie year. And this was better than anything he did his rookie year. This was absolute surgical precision he used. This was a return to some of that gunslinger mentality paying off. The accuracy was there. And also, one of the things I think Baker Mayfield wrongly gets criticized for, that he's not really bad at, just people tend to throw this out there, is this blanket kind of assumption that Baker Mayfield can't read defenses. I don't think that's the problem. I just think for a while, and especially in these 7 quarters, Baker just wasn't trusting what he saw and what he read. He was reading it right. A lot of the times his head would be in the right place. His eyes would be in the right place. He just doesn't let go of the ball at the right time or to the right person. And I think it's because he wasn't trusting what he saw. And I think what you saw at the end of this game was Baker start to just trust what he saw, because he's normally in the right place when it comes to his eyes and his head. He just isn't trusting it and isn't ripping it like he used to. And this week, man, I almost shed a tear when I saw him hit Rashard Higgins down the seam and David Njoku up the seam tight. Like, that's the stuff with Baker Mayfield we have not seen in quite a while, that has just went away because of 2019. And I really was concerned that 2019 had did a couple years worth of damage to Baker Mayfield, but it looks like he is able to kind of he's starting to be able to shake that stuff off and really make plays. And I think one of the things we haven't talked about was his development when it came to staying calm in the pocket. It was there in Pittsburgh. He stayed calm more often in the pocket than not in Pittsburgh, despite being blitzed a ton. Same thing in Indy, where he got hit a lot. He was even injured. And this week, he just stayed in that pocket, and he stayed there just a hair longer to make those extra plays that he would have made if he didn't break. And I think you're starting to see a lot of 2019. wash off of Baker Mayfield. Some people are going to attribute this erroneously to Odell not being out there. Somehow not having Odell Beckham makes you a better football team. I think that's a take akin to like people saying Andy Dalton is a blessing in disguise for the Cowboys because not having Dak's going to make you focus on the run game. You know, those kind of takes, I throw them out. I think they're not great takes. But with Baker, I think you finally saw him trust his offensive line, trust what he's seeing with his mind and his eyes, and go with it with his feet. And you saw him unleash. And I hope this is a sign going forward. You know, I was worried about Baker when he threw that interception early. Was that going to affect him a lot and his confidence a lot like the Pittsburgh game? And it didn't. He didn't let it get to him. He made plays. He got on a rhythm. He started attacking downhill. That's what you like to see out of Baker Mayfield. Also, on the Cincinnati Bengals side of things, you got to give your hat off to Joe Burrow. He played an excellent game. I believe Joe Burrow is going to be one of the better quarterbacks in the league if he can just stay healthy and if they don't allow him to get hit as much in Cincinnati. I think he'll be fine. And I think Cincinnati overall is a good team. They're not a winning team, but they're a good team. They're going to compete with almost anybody they play to a certain level. They just don't have enough. They don't have enough of that glue, you know, the coaching and everything else, offensive line together to be able to finish these games yet, much like the 2019 Browns. But they have a lot of the pieces there, so they're going to be a good team in the future. So shout out to the Bengals. No disrespect for them. I felt like they played really hard, especially at home. So I don't want to sound like I'm being disrespectful of them. I just think Baker Mayfield played better this week. But let's start talking about the game in more detail. We're going to start with the defense. I'll be honest here. I didn't like a lot of what the defense did. I felt like Myles Garrett had a good first half. In the second half, I can't really blame him for not being that productive because they were putting like 2 guards and then somebody on Myles Garrett. So that's 2 heads and a half, all focused on Myles Garrett on an offensive line that's starting like a bunch of backups at that point. I think almost all of their starters were eliminated from play at the end of this, and they were still able to drive down and get that 4th and short on you. It's just atrocious stuff from the defensive line, especially. If Myles Garrett is going to attract 3 heads on the offensive line, I'm sorry. Olivier Vernon has to do better. Sheldon Richardson, he's doing all right. And Larry Ogunjobi has disappeared ever since he had to miss those games with the injury because he did have a hot start to the season. Myles is getting bracketed 3-on-1, and now it's leaving Larry Ogunjobi 1-on-1 with some pretty inferior interior offensive linemen, and he's not winning. That's not good. Olivier Vernon, how can you be going against Bobby Hart's backup and not win and not get a ton of pressure? How could you be going against Fred the Sled Johnson for an entire quarter and not get a single pressure? Like, these are the things that drive me crazy about Olivier Vernon, is that I get it if he's not able to dominate against top tier or starting level tackles on the left side. But on the right side, you should be able to do a little bit of something when a guy like Bobby Hart ain't even playing and his backup's in there. That's inexcusable. So the defensive line, look, the secondary, Andrew Sadeo, all these guys, they have a ton of blame on the Bengals' ability to come back. But ultimately, I'm going to put almost all of the blame on the defensive line because point blank, period, if they get more pressure like they should have going against a weakened Cincinnati Bengals offensive line, this game isn't even close, but they can't do that. And it's not all going to be up to Myles. A lot of teams are just going to 3-on-1 bracket Myles. They're going to leave 2 guards and a running back or a tight end on Myles. That's just what they're going to do because he's that good. It's up to these other guys to be able to win on that. And it really concerns me if those 3 can't win 1-on-1 against, you know, the relatively low-ranked players that the Bengals have on that interior offensive line and at the edge. I mean, Bobby Hart's backup, that's concerning. You got to be more physical than that. You got to win up front, and you can't let them drive on you pressure-free when they don't have any of their starting offensive linemen. I'm sorry, that's not acceptable. So, again, throw all the blame you want on the secondary. I'm not going to blame them. I think the defensive line should have played a much better game in that second half, and they absolutely disappointed. It's going to be up to them next week to show out because they absolutely disappointed everybody on this defense, especially Myles Garrett. They need to play better. Terrence Mitchell also did not have a good game. This was probably his first bad game. Dropped a very, very obvious interception that could have went for some yards on the return that might have put the game away. So Terrence Mitchell, got to play better than that, but he's usually played better. Denzel Ward was his usual self. He made some plays. Didn't get a pick, but he made some plays. The Browns, they got to find a better answer to this underneath stuff, right? And I think one of the problems this week when it came to the coverages was that I think the Browns blitz too much. The Browns usually don't blitz. They didn't blitz a lot when they played Cincinnati the first time. I felt like they went in with the blitz because of what the Baltimore Ravens were able to do to Joe Burrow. And the Browns just ain't the Baltimore Ravens. They're not that creative on their blitz fronts. They're not that good. And they just don't have the secondary depth to be able to hold up on the back end if you send a ton of guys at the quarterback. I think the Browns should just keep it simple. Look, their coverage units are what they are. They need all the help they can get. It's just going to be up to this front four to pay better. And you know what? They're paid the most out of everybody on this defense, so they should play better. And I think all the blitzing and stuff just didn't help your secondary, and it really didn't help you get that much of a pass rush. It really just kind of opened up lanes for Joe Burrow to throw to because, again, you're not the type of defense that's going to be able to confuse Joe Burrow. You don't run, that kind of defense. You're not Wink on the other side of that ball. So I think the Browns should stay away from blitzing, and I hope they learned that lesson this week. That's my kind of takeaways on the defense. Defensive line needs to play better. Absolutely unacceptable what they allowed the Bengals backup offensive line to do to them, given that the Bengals starting offensive line is still one of the worst units in the NFL. And as far as the coaching wise, I just would have liked to see less blitzes. I understand why they did that. It paid off in a couple of occasions, but I think it also bit you on that last drive a lot. So I would stay away from the blitzes for the rest of the season and kind of just give your coverage units as much help as you can. Well, if that how it started, how it ended meme was like a real life football game, this would be the one because Baker Mayfield, boy, he started this first quarter out like the worst you can. You lose Odell, you get an injured J.C. Treader, and Baker just looks hesitant. He doesn't look good. You're thinking this is going to be Pittsburgh all over again. And then he gets that one pass on the play action to Jarvis Landry, and then he gets another one to Harrison Bryant, and then all of a sudden he gets into the red zone. And what did I tell you guys about Baker Mayfield in the red zone? And I see a lot of people trying to poo-poo on when I mention this about Baker Mayfield, but this is nothing to laugh at. Baker Mayfield is one of the better red zone quarterbacks in the NFL, and that's nothing to discard. I mean, we all know how good Deshaun Kaiser was between the 20 and the 20 and how terrible he was when he got into the red zone and how the Browns went 0-16 that year. Now you have a 5-2 team with the quarterback who's much better in the red zone than he is in the middle of the field, and you can tell the difference there in Baker Mayfield. Once he gets into that red zone, he is more decisive. He makes these plays better. He can see the field a little bit better. He trusts what he sees a lot more often in the red zone than he does in other parts of the field. And this game was proof of it. 4 red zone touchdowns for Baker Mayfield. And once you got him going, he got confident. And that's when that last drive kicked in where he went into pretty much franchise quarterback mode, quite frankly. He had the one play where somebody was hanging on his leg, still found a way to get it to Donovan Peoples-Jones, found Rashard Higgins on the outside, let him walk out of bounds to stop the clock. Then he threw that ball up to Rashard Higgins on that deep ball so Rashard can get that play there to the 30-yard line. And then on that last play, beautiful throw by Baker Mayfield. Absolutely beautiful ball placement. Great catch by Donovan Peoples-Jones. And that's just that last drive against Cincinnati. I don't care what you got to say about Cincinnati's defense. Oh, they're not good. Oh, this and that. I don't care. That last drive, that's what great quarterback play looks like. And that, make no mistake about it, was Baker Mayfield playing at a top 10 level at the end of this game. And that is something that we haven't seen in Cleveland ever since this franchise came back, quite frankly. So you got to tip your hat off to Baker Mayfield. Also, you got to tip your hat off to Kareem Hunt. I feel like the offensive line's still inconsistent in the run game. They're dealing with some injuries. I get that. But Joe Bitonio, man, he's not had a great 3 weeks here. He got bullied by Cam Hayward in the run game. He had a decent game against DeForest Buckner. And then this week he was up and down. I mean, he was letting guys like Margus Hunt get back there early on in the game, which is just unacceptable for a guy of Joe Bitonio's caliber. Joe's been a little inconsistent. Jedrick's always been inconsistent when it comes to the run, but they've all been pretty consistent when it comes to the pass blocking. And, that's ended up being the difference in the game. Baker Mayfield having time, being confident, being able to make these throws ended up being what won you your game because Baker Mayfield won you this game. And Baker Mayfield won you this game under center. He won you this game in empty, in shotgun. Nobody was complaining about any of the sets Baker Mayfield was in after the second quarter, because he was absolutely just slicing the guys up from every single formation. It was a beautiful thing to see, and it seems like something clicked with him with this offense, and he just got more confident and just started being confident in what he's seeing and his ability to make those plays. Again, this is a good step for Baker Mayfield. You hope to see this continue on in other games here. Odell got injured, and it looks like it might be a serious injury. Some people are saying it might be season ending, which is terrifying. I hope that's not the case. But yeah, Odell looks to be injured. I don't know what the case is with him, but overall, I felt like the offense looked good. I still think they need to get Wyatt Teller back. They still need to get Nick Chubb back. They still need to get Austin Hooper back. But you have depth at the tight end position. David Njoku, Harrison Bryant, you didn't even miss your starting tight end. So hats off to them. Again, I think the offense played as well as you can outside of that one Baker Mayfield interception early. Felt like the offense did everything they could. The defense, and specifically the defensive line, is what needed to step up and didn't. But the offense just carried you through this game. My final takeaway is one that I mentioned on Twitter. I'll mention it here. Is don't fixate and focus exclusively on what a player or even a person in your own life does not do well. Don't do that to the point to where you're blinded and you can't really even appreciate or see what that person brings to the table. Because I think after that Pittsburgh game, everybody just kind of put the magnifying glass on Baker Mayfield and just focused on all of his flaws. Some people said he can't read defenses. Some people said he looks timid. He doesn't look confident. You know, people saying that you have a ceiling. Your ceiling is your quarterback. You know, people automatically going to the Browns can't be better than, you know, this record because their quarterback is this, or maybe they should tank for Trevor or put in Case Keenum, and all this ridiculous stuff over this week, aided by some of the gross national kind of dialogue about the Browns and Odell Beckham in particular. And I think so many people focused on that they forgot what Baker Mayfield does well. He's one of the better red zone quarterbacks in the NFL. What did he do today? You got in the red zone 4 times. You scored 4 times by the arm of Baker Mayfield, because that's what he does really well. Baker Mayfield, what does he do really well that Case Keenum can't do? He can throw the ball downfield. He has excellent ball placement. He's able to fit balls into windows that most quarterbacks can't. About 3 of those 4 touchdowns that he had today, Case Keenum ain't fitting those touchdowns. Case Keenum doesn't have the arm strength. No disrespect to Case Keenum, but Case Keenum don't got the arm strength to fit the ball into the windows that Baker Mayfield did. That last drive, Case Keenum's not doing that. He doesn't have the arm strength and the arm talent to do those things that Baker Mayfield did. We focused so much on Baker Mayfield's flaws that we thought anybody else would be a better solution than Baker Mayfield, and it just made us not appreciate what he brings to the table. And I think that's what this game was, an appreciation of what Baker Mayfield brings to the table, and a reminder of what he brings to the table. You know, so many people throw all these like terms on him, game manager. I've always said Baker Mayfield wasn't a game manager, because game manager isn't necessarily a indicator of how good you are. It's an indicator of your play style. And the fact of the matter is Baker Mayfield's not a game manager. He's a gunslinger. He's a guy who's going to win you a game. He's a guy who could also lose you a game. And luckily this year, Baker really hasn't lost you a game. In life and in football, I'll say this: don't focus on a player's flaws so exclusively that you just become blind to everything else that they bring to the table. This would be akin to somebody focusing on Lamar Jackson's shortcomings as a pocket passer, but forgetting what else Lamar Jackson brings to the table. That would be kind of foolish. But that's the kind of stuff that's going on in this city with the coaching staffs and regimes for years that has just gone unchecked. And I think a lot of people fall back into that pattern. And I'm not saying don't be critical of Baker Mayfield. He definitely deserves criticism when he makes a bad play or makes some bad throws. But I'm saying have that criticism with some perspective on what he brings to the table and what he does not and what he needs to improve. If you look at it like that, then we'll make better decisions as a fan base, and hopefully the organization will reflect that and make better decisions there. But that's my thoughts on this game and kind of what happened this week. A big week for Baker Mayfield to respond to this, and a big week for the Cleveland Browns. They're 5-2. 5-2. 5-2. The Cleveland Browns are 5-2. Drink that one in. But again, guys, thank you for watching. Have a great day. Have a good night.